Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Forest Hill Studio. Today I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of the Origin console and how I have it set up in my studio to give you some idea of the cabling and the patch bays and how I've arranged those so that you can begin to get a feel for what it's going to be like in your setup. Origin is a great console, and I've been enjoying very much having it here at our installation in the studio. Um, as you guys know, Origin is a 32 channel inline console, and that means that you get the both input and monitoring from the recording device back into the console. Um, all the signal paths are brought out on D-sub miniature connectors on the rear panel, and that makes it very handy for keeping the studio in order and having things well organized. As you can see here, basically the connection bays are set up in 5 general areas. The channels 1 through 32 are set up in 4 buckets, if you will, and then underneath of that, section 9 through 16, you see the master section output connection area there. There's also power connection, and they talk about using the legs for cables, but your audio cables aren't going to work for that. So if we take a second and look a little closer again at the rear panel, you can see the actual layout here in this diagram that shows that things get a little bit tight back there, but everything is accessible and very well laid out. The cable designations are not labeled here. There's a diagram on there that shows which D-sub is what, and you might want to put labels on those for your console. So here we can see there's some video of the rear panel of my Origin console. You can see the XLR connections at the top for the channel inputs. All of the other inputs and outputs are on the D-sub miniature connectors that you see here, and shows you arrangement. I have those tidied up pretty well on my installation. And as you can see, though, it does get kind of tight in there, so you got to think about it when you're getting all these cables together. You want to use big, hefty tie wraps like this and bundle the cables together. They get pretty heavy. The cable set in my outfit ends up weighing about 240 pounds, as I recall. About the only thing that doesn't come across the cable tray here is you'll see my feeds for my studio monitor outputs. They come back up, of course, and route back into the D-sub connectors on the back. Going further, we see the channels 17 through 32, and it's the same arrangement on both sides. See the cables coming down again, tie wrapped up, everything is good. Here we see a shot of the patch bays wiring that is in use, and right now the picture that you see here shows it about 50% populated. Ultimately, all of these connectors are going to be used, and all of them are populated again. Think about populating these from the bottom up. They start to get pretty hard to get to as you begin to fill up those patch bays, and if you do it all over the place, it gets really hard to, number one, see the labels for the cables that you have in there, but also get your fingers in there to get the jack screws tightened down for proper engagement. It's a little bit messy here, but you can see my Goliath interface at the top, bringing my 32 channels, bring those down to the patch bays, and then all of the other I/O that you're going to see coming out of the console is represented here on the patch bays, so I don't have to crawl around or connect anything. Everything comes out to the patch bays, and I can get ready access to those as I need to when I'm working in the studio or midway through a session. Changes need to be made, things of this nature. Moving on, coming up here we have another shot of the rear of the patch bays and the interface. Just bring the cables in, try to keep those organized as well as possible. There's going to be a whole lot of them, as you can see here. Things begin to fill up really fast. So take your time and do what it takes to do it slowly and do it accurately. There's about 72 cables required of those D-sub miniature type, which gives you 25 connections each. So you can see here quite a lot. This is the first bay of my equipment rack that has the Goliath interface and the patch bays in it. After that, I have 2 more bays that are filled up with my outboard gear and things of this nature. And all of that gets routed between the patch bays and the other bays of the equipment rack. So again, there's no crawling around, no patching later. The end game in all this is that every signal out of the origin is available on the patch bays. Every piece of outboard gear can be patched at any point in the signal path of the console, and that just turns out to ease your workflow and make your day a whole lot easier when you're getting down to the point where you're actually trying to do some work. So here we go. There's the front of my equipment rack. You see in bay 1, we were just looking at the back of it. You see the patch bays and the Goliath interface. Outboard gear is down in patch bays 2 and 3, not patch bays, but rack bays 2 and 3. And to give you some idea, you probably have a similar complement of equipment in your studio, so you need to think about how you're going to get all that set up. You might want to check out my other video for planning and setting up your studio and the cabling that you're going to need. It's pretty informative. So again, moving on, you see down at the bottom left here, I brought my live room feeds into XLR patch bays and TRS line patch bays from the live rooms. That way I have those hard patched into the TT patch bays that are part of the SSL recommended patch base setup. But this gives me a way that if I need to move around something, or if I get a channel that goes bad or a cable that's having a problem, I can just quickly switch from one to another and make sense of this in pretty fast order. Or if I want to do something up here in the control room, I can patch right in at this point too, and it makes things very convenient. Okay, so here we see a close-up shot of the patch bays with the live room feeds at the bottom. Again, these follow pretty carefully, with a couple of exceptions, the SSL recommended patch bays, but all my signals from the console come out and are available here for use. I've got another video coming up where I'll go into this in depth and show you the layout of the patch bays and how they correlate to each channel section and to the master sections of the console, so that you can get a feel for what elements of the console are feeding and getting signals from each element of the patch bay. And then I'll also go into showing you how my outboard effects can be patched into any signal chain in the patch bay, my DAW inputs, my interface outputs, my monitors, everything. And that'll be pretty informative and helpful, hopefully, to you. But that'll be coming up in the near future. Again, now I'll go over to just take a minute and take a look at, the SSL recommended patch bays, and you can see here each section. This is also in the SSL manual, which I would encourage you guys to spend a little moment giving that a read through. It's pretty well done and very informative. That's available for free over on the SSL website, so I would encourage you to do that. We're really enjoying Origin here in the studio. It's been a real game changer and upgrade to the work that we're doing here. It sounds incredible. I would encourage you guys to get out there, get yourself in front of one, take a listen, spend a little time with it. If you can find a studio or someone who will let you have a little time there, get yourself familiar with it and see if it's going to work for your workflow. Anyway, thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you guys next time.